Welcome to the Occult Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Carter, and in today's episode we turn to a hidden system of power that has shaped empires, guided secret societies, and whispered through sacred texts. Numbers. To most, they are tools for counting and measuring. Yet, to those who guard the occult traditions, numbers are living forces, patterns that govern fate itself. What if every event, every choice, and even the structure of the universe is written in the language of numbers? To understand how numbers became more than mere symbols, we must return to the ancient world, where civilizations believed that the cosmos was built upon a hidden order. In Mesopotamia, priests studied the stars, measuring celestial cycles with astonishing precision. They recorded lunar phases, planetary alignments, and seasonal changes, not only for agriculture but for divination. To them, numbers revealed the will of the gods, encoded in the heavens. Across the desert in Egypt, sacred architecture echoed the same belief. The Great Pyramid of Giza is not only a monument of stone, but a monument of proportion. Its dimensions align with mathematical ratios, its base oriented to the cardinal points with uncanny accuracy. To the Egyptian priests, numbers were not inventions of man but eternal truths, the foundation of harmony and balance in both heaven and earth. In Greece, the philosopher Pythagoras carried these teachings into a new form. To his secret brotherhood, numbers were living archetypes, each with a personality and a vibration. One represented unity and creation. Two embodied duality and opposition. Three expressed harmony and resolution. For Pythagoras, the entire universe could be explained through these archetypes, and he declared that all things are numbers. His students guarded these teachings, blending mathematics with mysticism, music, and ritual. They saw harmony in the string of a lyre, in the spacing of planets, and in the structure of temples. Each vibration, each rhythm, was a reflection of cosmic order. This reverence for numbers spread into the hidden currents of Jewish mysticism. In Kabbalah, the Hebrew alphabet was not only a script, but a numerical system. Each letter carried a number, and words could be decoded through their numerical value, revealing hidden meanings behind sacred texts. This method, known as gematria, turned scripture into a cipher. The word for Messiah shared numerical resonance with other words, suggesting that prophecy could be unlocked not by faith alone, but through the hidden patterns of number. In this system, numbers were not passive but active forces, channels of divine energy. These traditions, separated by geography yet united by belief, reveal a striking pattern. From Mesopotamian tablets to Egyptian temples, from Greek philosophy to Hebrew mysticism, numbers were seen as the foundation of reality itself. They were a bridge between the material and the spiritual, a secret code woven into the very structure of the cosmos. To know these numbers was to touch the hidden order of the universe, a knowledge so powerful it was often guarded, concealed and reserved only for the initiated. The story of occult numerology is not only about discovery, but also about suppression. Throughout history, the guardians of power have decided which knowledge should shine in the open and which must be buried in shadow. When Pythagoras and his followers taught the mystical properties of numbers, their teachings became too dangerous for the ruling order. His school was attacked, his writings scattered, and much of his wisdom survived only in fragments. To rulers who relied on the obedience of the masses, the idea that numbers could unlock divine truth threatened the very structure of authority. If numbers revealed hidden laws of the universe, then priests and kings no longer held a monopoly on truth. This same fear echoed centuries later within the Church. Early Christian thinkers, some of whom were deeply influenced by Pythagorean and Jewish numerology, hinted that numbers held keys to divine mysteries. Yet as the Church gained power, it began to guard doctrine with rigid boundaries. Anything resembling hidden codes or alternative readings of Scripture was branded heresy. Texts containing elaborate number systems, such as the Book of Enoch, were excluded from the canon. Mystical interpretations, like those found in the Kabbalah, were pushed into secrecy. Officially, faith was meant to rest on obedience, not on cryptic calculations. The suppression was not always direct destruction. Sometimes it took the form of ridicule. When Renaissance scholars revived interest in numerology, they were mocked as dreamers or superstitious fools, even as their ideas influenced art, architecture, and philosophy. The deeper truth is that ridicule can be as effective as fire. A scroll burned is gone forever, but a reputation burned ensures that others will not dare to ask the same questions. The same pattern can be found in modern times. In the 19th century, secret societies such as the Golden Dawn and various Masonic orders quietly studied numerology, blending it with astrology, alchemy, and ritual magic. But mainstream academia dismissed these pursuits as nonsense, preserving the official line that numbers belong to mathematics alone, stripped of spiritual meaning. When occult writers hinted at deeper truths, they were often silenced by censorship, or their works quietly disappeared from print. Why suppress this knowledge? Because numbers, when seen as more than quantities, suggest that reality itself is designed, ordered, and open to interpretation. They suggest that hidden forces can be read, predicted, and even influenced. That idea undermines the monopoly of kings, priests, and later scientists who claim to define truth for everyone else. To suppress numerology was to keep humanity in the dark, convinced that numbers are nothing more than cold calculations, while their hidden vibrational power remained in the hands of the few. The fragments that survived suppression reveal a trail of evidence pointing towards something far more profound than simple superstition. In ancient Babylon, clay tablets record numerical calculations tied not only to astronomy but to ritual timing. Priests used these sequences to determine when the veil between worlds was at its thinnest, choosing precise dates for ceremonies meant to summon or banish unseen forces. In Egypt, hieroglyphs carved deep inside temple walls describe measurements and ratios that appear to encode astronomical knowledge far ahead of their era. The ratio of the Great Pyramid's height to its base corresponds almost perfectly to the mathematical constant known today as pi. Was this coincidence, or was it evidence of a deliberate attempt to embed eternal truths into stone? In the Hebrew tradition, the practice of gematria reveals further anomalies. Certain passages of the Torah seem arranged so that key words share numerical values across separate books, as if linking themes through a hidden lattice. For example, the Hebrew word for life, chai, carries the numerical value of 18, a number still considered sacred and auspicious in Jewish tradition. This recurring presence of meaningful numbers suggests an intentional design, a code beneath the text that conveys truths to those who can decipher it. Such patterns cannot be dismissed easily as random, especially when they appear consistently across centuries of writing and ritual. Evidence also surfaces in Christian texts. The Book of Revelation famously speaks of the number of the beast, 666. While mainstream interpretations paint this as a cryptic reference to evil, occult traditions have long believed it represents something deeper: the vibration of material power, the imbalance of spiritual harmony, or even a warning encoded by early mystics who understood the dangers of domination through hidden knowledge. The fact that this number has haunted cultures for nearly 2,000 years reveals its potency. Numbers are more than symbols, they are archetypes, shadows that shape human consciousness. Moving into more recent history, numerology influenced architecture and art in ways that defy coincidence. The cathedrals of Europe were constructed with measurements that reflect sacred ratios, such as the golden mean, a proportion found in shells, flowers, and galaxies alike. Renaissance artists from Leonardo da Vinci to Albrecht Dürer studied these patterns, embedding them in paintings and sketches. The idea was simple yet revolutionary: to mirror divine order through human creation, channeling the hidden mathematics of the universe into form and beauty. Even in places where records were deliberately erased, hints remain. Manuscripts discovered in the Nag Hammadi library revealed Gnostic sects who believed numbers formed the scaffolding of creation itself. Though condemned as heretical and destroyed wherever possible, their survival suggests that groups outside the dominant powers preserved fragments of a vast numerical cosmology. What connects these diverse pieces? Babylonian tablets, Egyptian architecture, Hebrew scriptures, Christian prophecy, European cathedrals, and Gnostic writings. Is the insistence that numbers are not invented but revealed. They are woven into the fabric of existence, waiting to be uncovered by those with the courage to look beneath the surface. Across the scattered civilizations of history, echoes of the same numerical patterns emerge, suggesting that this knowledge was not isolated but shared, preserved, or perhaps guided by something beyond human culture. The number 3, for example, appears as a sacred principle almost everywhere. In Egypt, the divine triad of Osiris, Isis, and Horus embodied creation, destruction, and renewal. In Hindu belief, the Trimurti of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva represented creation, preservation, and transformation. In Christian doctrine, the Holy Trinity presents the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit as a single divine essence. 3 is the rhythm of birth, life, and death, repeated across belief systems separated by oceans and millennia. The number 7 carries the same mysterious resonance. In Mesopotamia, 7 was tied to the visible planets that governed destiny. In Judaism, 7 marked the Sabbath, the cycle of rest and renewal. In Christianity, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 churches frame apocalyptic prophecy. In Islam, 7 heavens represent levels of divine order. Even in folk traditions, 7 often signifies luck, fate, or supernatural intervention. The repetition of this number suggests more than coincidence. It points toward a universal pattern understood by cultures that supposedly had no contact with one another. Other numbers reveal similar mysteries. 12 appears as the signs of the zodiac, the tribes of Israel, the apostles of Christ, and the months of the year. 40 marks periods of trial in the Bible, 40 days of flood, 40 years in the desert, 40 days of fasting. 9 symbolizes completion in Norse mythology, with 9 worlds bound by the great tree Yggdrasil, and in ancient Greece with the 9 muses inspiring human creativity. Each of these numbers recurs with such force that it seems less like cultural invention and more like a shared recognition of hidden truths embedded within the structure of existence itself. Even architecture mirrors these echoes. Stone circles such as Stonehenge align with lunar and solar cycles, using numerical ratios to connect Earth and sky. Mayan temples chart planetary movements, encoding Venus cycles into stone steps and platforms. In China, the imperial palace at Beijing was designed around the number 9, considered the number of celestial power. These sites, separated by continents, all display the same obsession, anchoring human life within the universal order revealed by numbers. Why do these echoes persist? Perhaps ancient peoples tapped into a truth that transcends culture, one that modern society has chosen to forget. The recurrence of these numbers across civilizations suggests a hidden language spoken through pattern, vibration, and proportion. It is a language not bound by geography or religion, but one whispered through temples, texts, and myths. To those who listen, it reveals that beneath the chaos of history lies a deeper order, one that has always been there, guiding and shaping human destiny. When scholars confront these recurring patterns, the response is often denial or dismissal. The academic world insists that numbers are abstract tools for measurement, not carriers of hidden meaning. Historians argue that similarities across cultures are coincidences or products of human psychology, not evidence of a shared cosmic code. Mathematicians reduce numbers to neutral symbols, useful only for equations and proofs. To suggest otherwise, they say, is pseudoscience. Yet the rigidity of this stance reveals more about the guardians of knowledge than about the numbers themselves. Universities and research institutions thrive on order and categorization. Fields are separated into neat disciplines: mathematics, history, theology, anthropology. Each discipline guards its borders jealously. To claim that numbers connect mystical traditions, sacred texts, architecture, and cosmic patterns breaks those boundaries. Such ideas are branded unworthy of serious study, and scholars who pursue them risk their careers. In the 19th century, researchers who investigated numerology were excluded from respected journals and relegated to fringe publications. Even today, the subject is considered taboo in most academic circles. This denial is not always a matter of evidence, but of ideology. Scientific institutions rest on the assumption that the universe is random, mechanical, and without intrinsic meaning. If numbers themselves possess hidden qualities that influence life and consciousness, that assumption collapses. Acknowledging numerology would mean admitting that reality is designed, that unseen forces are at play, and that the boundaries of science cannot contain them. For those who control the narrative of truth, this is unacceptable. Funding structures add another layer to the wall of denial. Research grants are tied to projects that promise measurable outcomes, profitable technology, or safe alignment with accepted theories. A scholar proposing a study of numerical symbolism in ancient texts would find little support compared to one designing a new algorithm for banking or weapons systems. Knowledge that cannot be monetized or weaponized is quietly set aside. The result is that entire generations are trained to ignore the mystical dimension of numbers, taught to see them only as lifeless marks on a page. Even when anomalies are undeniable, they are explained away. The precise alignment of the Great Pyramid to cardinal points is attributed to primitive trial and error. The recurrence of sacred numbers in Scripture is labeled coincidence. The presence of mathematical constants in ancient architecture is dismissed as accidental. By framing every discovery as an accident or superstition, the academic establishment maintains control over what is considered real. Yet denial itself is evidence of the power of this knowledge. If numbers were truly meaningless, there would be no need for suppression, ridicule, or erasure. The persistence of these patterns and the resistance they provoke suggest that beneath the surface of accepted history lies a forbidden current. A current that challenges the monopoly of those who define reality for the rest of humanity. Beyond the walls of official denial, a realm of daring speculation has emerged, where fringe theories attempt to explain why numbers appear to shape the very fabric of existence. Some propose that numbers are not human inventions at all, but living archetypes, eternal forms that predate both matter and mind. In this view, the universe is not built of atoms or particles, but of patterns, and those patterns can be expressed only in numerical vibration. To tap into these vibrations, ancient mystics created rituals, chants, and symbols designed to align human consciousness with the underlying mathematics of creation. One of the most provocative ideas is that advanced civilizations, long before recorded history, possessed knowledge of these numerical codes. Theories about Atlantis often describe it as a culture that mastered sacred geometry, using numbers not only to design monumental architecture, but to manipulate energy fields. Some researchers suggest that the myth of a lost golden age might in fact be the memory of a world where numbers were tools of power, capable of healing, destruction, or even communication with other dimensions. If such civilizations existed, their disappearance may have been no accident, but a deliberate erasure to prevent humanity from inheriting their secrets. Other theories turn toward consciousness itself. Occult practitioners argue that numbers are gateways, each carrying a frequency that resonates with the human mind. The number 1 focuses the will, the number 2 creates polarity, the number 3 harmonizes duality, the number 7 awakens spiritual insight. When numbers are arranged in specific sequences, they form keys to unlock altered states of awareness. This is why numerology has persisted not only as a system of divination, but as a form of inner alchemy, shaping the psyche just as surely as chemical alchemy sought to transform matter. Some go even further, claiming that numbers may be the language of non-human intelligence. Reports of contact, whether through mystical visions, altered states, or even modern accounts of unidentified aerial phenomena, often describe communication not in words, but in sequences of numbers and geometric patterns. Could it be that the universe itself is designed to be read in this way, and that those who grasp the code can converse with intelligences beyond our world? If true, then numerology is not mere superstition, but the first step toward deciphering a cosmic language that transcends human speech. There are also theories that connect numbers with hidden dimensions. Physicists already speculate that reality may contain dimensions beyond the 3 we experience. Occult traditions claim that numbers are the keys to navigating these realms. The Kabbalistic tree of life, with its 10 spheres and 22 connecting paths, is often seen as a numerical map of the unseen worlds. To travel it, whether in vision or ritual, is to move through the architecture of creation itself. In this sense, numbers are not abstract but directional. They point the way, guiding the initiate across thresholds hidden from ordinary perception. Though mainstream voices dismiss these possibilities, the persistence of these theories across centuries suggests that humanity has always sensed that numbers are more than tools. They may be the very skeleton of reality, a hidden framework that shapes everything from the spiral of galaxies to the beat of the human heart. Whether viewed as divine archetypes, lost technologies, or bridges to other worlds, these interpretations reveal one truth. Numbers carry power, and those who master them step closer to the secrets of existence itself. The endurance of these ideas raises an unsettling question. Were the patterns of numerology forgotten naturally, or were they erased by design? Throughout history, evidence suggests that powerful groups have deliberately obscured the mystical side of numbers. In the burning of the Library of Alexandria, countless scrolls containing ancient wisdom vanished. Among them were likely treatises on sacred geometry and cosmic mathematics. In the centuries that followed, empires and religious orders shaped what knowledge would survive and what would be branded as dangerous. It was no accident that works hinting at hidden numerical systems were excluded from official canons, while texts supporting obedience and orthodoxy were preserved. Secret societies carried what remained. The Knights Templar were rumoured to hold mathematical knowledge tied to Solomon's Temple, where proportions were believed to channel divine energy. After the Templars were suppressed, whispers of their secrets found their way into Freemasonry. Masonic lodges incorporated numbers into their rituals, tools, and architecture, embedding sacred ratios into meeting halls and cathedrals. Yet much of this was hidden behind layers of allegory, accessible only to those who advanced through initiation. Knowledge was not lost, but locked away. In the Renaissance, the occult revival briefly exposed fragments of this buried knowledge. Thinkers like John Dee, the court astrologer to Queen Elizabeth, combined mathematics, alchemy, and angelic communication, believing that numbers were the language of divine beings. Yet after his death, his writings were scattered, censored, or dismissed as the ramblings of a mystic. What remained was the sanitized image of Dee as a mathematician, while his deeper explorations into the numerical structure of reality were left to gather dust in forgotten libraries. Even in modern times, the erasure continues. Education systems teach mathematics as lifeless calculation, deliberately stripped of its mystical origins. Numerology is relegated to tabloid horoscopes, mocked as entertainment rather than explored as the heir of a profound esoteric tradition. This reduction of numbers to mere arithmetic is itself a kind of occult operation, a way of concealing their true significance while keeping the masses blind. Meanwhile, symbols and patterns are still used in corporate logos, government architecture, and financial systems, signs that those at the top have not abandoned the old ways. The deliberate erasure of occult numerology reveals a clear motive. Knowledge is power. To understand numbers as vibrations and forces is to claim a measure of control over destiny, timing, and manifestation. If the masses believed in this power, they might begin to shape their own fate, rather than submit to rulers, priests, or technocrats. By restricting access, elites ensure that numbers remain their private language of control. The common person is taught to calculate, but not to interpret. They are told to solve equations, but never to see the patterns that govern life itself. What has been buried is not just information, but the very key to human freedom. If the hidden dimension of numbers is real, the implications reach far beyond personal curiosity. It reshapes how we understand power, destiny, and even the very fabric of reality. For centuries, those in control have used numbers as tools of domination while disguising their deeper meaning. Nations are built on dates chosen with symbolic weight. Wars are launched on days aligned with sacred cycles, and financial systems move according to patterns that echo ancient numerological codes. The ordinary citizen sees only chance, while those behind the curtain operate with deliberate precision. At the personal level, numerology offers a framework for understanding the self. Birth dates, names, and life cycles all reduce to numerical vibrations that can be interpreted as keys to one's path. To skeptics, this seems fanciful. Yet to initiates, it is a system that reveals the hidden structure of destiny. If your life path number suggests lessons of balance or transformation, it may not be coincidence that your experiences revolve around those very themes. This is not prediction in the crude sense, but recognition of resonance, an alignment between the individual and the larger numerical order of existence. On the collective scale, the implications are even more profound. If civilizations across time have encoded the same sacred numbers into their myths, architecture, and rituals, then humanity itself may be moving along patterns larger than we can see. Perhaps the rise and fall of empires, the cycles of war and peace, and the bursts of creativity that define history are not random but expressions of a hidden mathematics. In this sense, humanity is not wandering through chaos, but dancing to a rhythm written in numbers from the beginning of time. This raises the question of sovereignty. If numbers carry such force, who controls them? When calendars were restructured, when clocks were standardized, when financial systems adopted specific cycles, decisions were made that shifted humanity's relationship to time and rhythm. Those who set these patterns effectively rewrote the way billions live their lives. We rise, work, and sleep according to imposed numbers, rarely questioning the deeper power behind them. The implications extend into consciousness itself. If numbers resonate with frequencies that shape thought and emotion, then to harness them is to influence awareness. Ancient initiates may have used chants and ritual sequences not as superstition, but as precise tools of mind control and spiritual awakening. Modern systems of propaganda, advertising, and digital algorithms may be doing the same thing, using numerical patterns not only to predict behavior but to shape it. In this light, the study of occult numerology is not a quaint pursuit of the past, but a revelation of how power operates in the present. It suggests that numbers are not neutral. They are levers, switches, and codes through which reality is ordered. To ignore this is to remain bound by rhythms set by others. To reclaim it is to step into a hidden stream of knowledge that has always been there, waiting for those with the eyes to see and the courage to act. The truth of occult numerology leaves us with a sobering reflection. Numbers are not lifeless marks on a page, but the architecture of reality, shaping both the grand cycles of civilizations and the intimate paths of individual lives. Across cultures and centuries, numbers appear not as inventions of the human mind, but as eternal forces, revealing hidden connections that link myth, ritual, and cosmic order. Their persistence in sacred texts, temples, and secret societies suggests that humanity has always known on some level that we are living within a design, one that can be read if we dare to look. The suppression of this knowledge reminds us that truth is rarely lost by accident. It is erased, hidden, and ridiculed when it threatens the structures of power. The burning of libraries, the silencing of scholars, the ridicule of mystics, all of these point to a deliberate effort to keep the masses blind to the vibrational code that governs existence. Yet despite every effort, the echoes remain. The number 3 continues to symbolize harmony. The number 7 still carries the weight of destiny. The number 12 marks our cycles, and the number 9 completes them. These archetypes endure because they are woven into the very nature of life. If the world is indeed written in the language of numbers, then reclaiming this knowledge is not just about curiosity, it is about liberation. It is about recognizing that hidden rhythms shape our days, our choices, and even our collective history. By seeing numbers as more than calculation, we open ourselves to the possibility that reality itself is alive with meaning. Whether these patterns were placed here by divine intelligence, ancient architects of civilization, or forces beyond human comprehension, they remain, quietly guiding those who choose to awaken to them. To walk this path is to accept a paradox. Numbers promise certainty, yet the deeper one goes, the more they dissolve into mystery. They reveal hidden order, yet they also remind us of the vast unknown. This is the essence of forbidden knowledge, not to provide easy answers, but to open the door to questions that challenge everything we have been told about who we are and what reality truly is. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of the Occult Knowledge Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show, subscribe to the Forbidden Knowledge Network on Patreon. Subscribe now.